Hi Year 4 and welcome to today's English lesson. Today we have two can I questions, but they're both quite related. The first one is, can I analyse a style of writing? Analyse just means look at things really closely. And can I identify the difference between formal and informal writing? You might have an idea about that one already. First of all today, let's have a bit of a read of Adam Kay's Anatomy. Today we're going to read pages 252 to 253, which are part of a chapter all about your digestive system, which is basically explaining how your body uses food and how food goes from going into your mouth to out the other end. We're going to read the sections about the mouth, the esophagus, and the stomach. If you want to read along, you'll find this in Google Classroom. So, how it works. The mouth. Breathing, talking, eating, singing, burping. Is there anything the mouth can't do? Yup, play tennis. The mouth is where your food's journey begins. Your teeth chew it up, then your tongue turns it into a ball of soggy goop and passes it on. Your mouth has 6 salivary glands dotted around that spray out spit, like a fancy but slightly repulsive shower. Saliva, which is spit's proper name, helps you swallow things, keeps germs off your teeth, and stops your mouth from drying out. It also contains some enzymes, which are the chemicals that break up your food so it can be absorbed by your body. A bit like how washing up liquid breaks up the food my robot butler burned onto the bottom of the saucepan after his latest cooking disaster. Oh dear. The esophagus. This is the pipe that runs from your throat down to your stomach. The epiglottis makes sure that food goes down here rather than into your lungs, which have a strict air-only admissions policy. Food is squeezed down by muscles. It doesn't just slide into your stomach like it's going down a rubbish chute. This means it's possible to eat food if you're hanging upside down. Don't try this, just take my word for it. Your esophagus has a tight ring of muscle at the bottom to stop any food or drink sloshing back up from your stomach. Just as well, otherwise every time you tried to speak, bits of old mashed potato would come out. The saliva you produce in a single day would fill 2 cans of Coke. It would be a bit less fizzy though, hopefully. If you've got fizzy saliva, maybe see a doctor or an alien investigator. The stomach. Your stomach is your body's very own smoothie maker. It takes the chewed up chicken nuggets and toast and bananas that you had for lunch, a bit of a weird lunch if you ask me, and turns it all into a liquid. It's not a very appetizing smoothie because your stomach adds loads of really strong acid to it. Then it uses its very impressive muscles to churn the food around and around until it's all a gloopy slop, ready for your intestines, which clearly aren't fussy eaters. So there you go. Now you know all about the mouth, the esophagus, which is the tube that connects your mouth and your stomach itself. So let's remind ourselves of Adam Kay's style of writing. We said last time that it was quite similar to the Horrible Histories series or Horrible Science. And here there's a book called Disgusting Digestion, which you might also quite like. Let's compare 2 similar sections from these 2 books. On this side, we have The Mighty Mouth, which is from Disgusting Digestion. And on this side, we have the section from Kay's Anatomy. We've already read the section from Kay's Anatomy, but I'll read the section from the Disgusting Digestion book for you. The Mighty Mouth. Shovel food in your gob and something disgusting happens. Your food, even the stringiest steak and crunchiest carrots, turn into a shredded gooey pulp before vanishing forever down the black hole of your throat. So what's going on? Get your teeth into these amazing facts. Dare you discover what's in your mouth? Stand in front of the mirror, open wide. Go on, take a look. It won't bite you. What do you see? An amazing chewing machine, that's what. Now, if you want to go and have a look in the mirror, feel free to pause the video and then come back when you're done. How an author talks to you, the reader, is really important. And both of these authors, Adam Kay and Nick Arnold, both talk to you in a similar way. It's like they're talking to you directly. If we look here, I've found lots of examples where they're using the words you or your. So it's like they're talking to us individually, like a conversation. They also both use rhetorical questions. Do you remember, those are questions that we can't necessarily answer because we're not actually talking to them, but they ask them so that they can make us think about things. Pause the video and see if you can find the rhetorical questions in both parts. Did you find them? Here we are. So we have, is there anything the mouth can't do, from Adam Kay's book. And from Horrible Science, we have, so what's going on? We also have, what do you see? Rhetorical questions are a really important way to make your audience feel involved. And because both authors are talking to us directly, it's quite an informal way of writing. Now, you might remember from school that there are two particular ways of writing. There is formal language and there's informal language. Can you remember which is which? Well, I found some characters to help you out. On the left, we have formal Frederick, who is very posh and likes to use large words. He wants to try and impress people. And on the right side, we have informal Ian, who's not really quite so fussed about the whole thing. We tend to use formal language when we're talking to somebody we don't know, or writing to somebody we don't know, or somebody in authority, like the police or Mr. Coughlin. We tend to use informal language when we're with our friends, or when we're talking in a much more relaxed setting. And that's the kind of way that Nick Arnold and Adam Kay write their books. It's very informal language. We can find examples of informal language in both of these extracts. So the Disgusting Digestion book, you have phrases and words like shovel food in your gob. You wouldn't say that necessarily to a police officer. We have words like gooey or get your teeth into these amazing facts. In Adam Kay's book, we have words like yup, soggy goop, and using the word spit rather than saliva, which is the proper term for it, and describing something as a bit like how washing up liquid breaks up food. Somebody who was using formal language might say this is similar to, rather than just saying a bit like. So there's informal language in both extracts from both books. The other really informal thing that Adam Kay does, which I really like, is he puts extra bits in brackets as he's writing. So it's very much like he's having this conversation with you, and the bits in brackets are almost like he's sort of whispering things to you. For example, is there anything that the mouth can't do? Yup, play tennis. So he's making little funny comments in the brackets, and it makes it feel much more informal, like we're just having a chat with him. Here we have a section from a much more formal textbook about the body. And you can see from these captions that the language is quite different. Now, not only because they use a lot of technical language, which isn't necessarily always formal language, it's just the proper name for things, but it does make it sound a lot posher. We have words like enzyme. We also have carbohydrate. We even have really long words like monosaccharides. So there are a lot of long words, but there are also some good examples of formal language as well. This is very formal Frederick. So we have words like inactivated, which means it stops something working. We have partially rather than just partly. We have terms like the remaining fibre is excreted in the feces, rather than just saying it gets pooed out, which means exactly the same thing. And we have the digestion of carbohydrates is completed by the enzymes, rather than just it's done by the enzymes. So they've used much more formal language, much more formal Frederick. Here is a page of a textbook called Gray's Anatomy. Now, this is a textbook that all student doctors use. And this is where Kay's Anatomy, our book, gets its name from. It's a play on words. Gray's Anatomy tells you everything you need to know about the body. But if you look at it, even if we can't see closely enough to read all of the words, it doesn't look quite as interesting as Kay's Anatomy, does it? I'm not sure that would keep me interested for very long. It uses very formal language as well as lots of technical language, obviously, because student doctors need to know all of that stuff. But it also looks quite confusing. If I'm reading something, I need a few more illustrations, a few diagrams, and the text needs to be broken up a little bit more for me to be able to stay interested. So here we go. Kay's Anatomy, very informal Ian, as we can see here. And we've got all of these things that appear in his writing. So as we've talked about, we have the author's voice, how he's talking directly to us. He uses bits in brackets to tell us a bit more and make it feel much more like we're in a conversation. He uses rhetorical questions to draw us in and make us interested. He uses informal language like soggy goop. And he also uses these features as well. He uses fun illustrations. One of my favourite ones is this one down here of the stomach putting all the food into a blender. He also uses subheadings, and we can see that here we've got a heading called How It Works, and then we've got our subheading, which is Mouth. He also makes a lot of comparisons in his writing to help us understand things. For example, in this piece of writing, he says about the body breaking down food, a bit like how washing up liquid breaks up the food on a saucepan. And he uses a lot of humour as well to make things fun and interesting for us. Another good comparison that he makes, again, very informal Ian, is telling us all about the saliva that we produce in a day. So the saliva you produce in a single day would fill 2 cans of Coke. So that's a really good comparison for us to be able to understand much easier. And then he uses his humour again. If you've got fizzy saliva, maybe see a doctor or an alien investigator. So here we are. We've analysed Adam Kay's style of writing, including comparing him to another author as well. We've decided that all of these things are features of his writing. And what I'd like you to do today is read a different section of his writing and see if you can find all of these features. You're going to read a section of Adam Kay's book today called True or Poo, and it's a true or false section. It's on pages 138 and 139, and you'll find out about these things. You only use 10% of your brain, so you'll find out if that's true or false. Geniuses have massive brains. Your brain can repair itself like skin, and you can play a musical instrument while someone is operating on your brain. Do you think those are true or false? Have a think about them before you start reading. I've also included an audio file of me reading the section. If you're not so confident with reading, that might help you to follow along. What we'd like you to do with the True or Poo section is we'd like you to read it and then see how many of Adam Kay's features of writing you can find. I've included the list here, and it's also in Google Classroom for you as well. If you have a printer at home, maybe print off the pages and highlight all the different features you can find and label them. If you don't have a printer though, don't worry, just make a list of the different features that you can find. I hope you enjoy finding out more about your amazing body, and I'll see you again tomorrow. Bye.